Hey there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty in Houston. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Smarter Real Estate Weekly on Wednesdays, where I arm you with practical strategies to make you a smarter buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord, and also take you on some of my real estate adventures, which this week involves a personal real estate adventure. This is the next in my series of videos about building my dream home. So I hope you have seen, and if you haven't, please go back and take a look at my past videos in this series so that you can see the journey thus far, finding the lot that we will build our custom home on, we meaning my husband and me for our family, and then also the initial steps that it took before we could actually start designing the floor plan. And now this video is very exciting because you're going to get your first look at what our house will look like. I'm going to go through, first of all, I'm looking at my list here so I don't forget anything, the plot plan, looking at how the house will sit on the lot, the elevation, so the front, back, and both sides of the house. And we'll look at some 3D renderings. We'll also get a sneak peek into some early sketches of the interior floor plan. And then in future videos, I will go through the floor plan in great detail. We'll go through, kind of more high-level overviews of the first and second floor, but then also in future videos go room by room to show you how we designed each room, and you can perhaps learn and get some tips that will help you if you are looking to either build a custom home or a semi-custom home, or even to modify an existing home that a builder is building. Perhaps you're choosing something, but you have an opportunity to change some things around. This will give you some great ideas. So I'm really excited and looking forward to this whole process. So just to give you a little bit of a timeline, we found and located our lot and closed just within a couple of weeks. It was a very quick closing, and that happened 6 months ago. And, we're very fast at this, and me in particular, I lead and my husband just follows, but we'll talk about that another day. And so I really kept us on track. I mean, literally just moving things forward from week to week, but you can't imagine just how many things are involved in designing a floor plan from scratch because you have nothing to start with. And I'll get into this in more detail, but essentially you have these restrictions, okay, based on HOA rules and the city rules that you have to build within. So you can't just do whatever you want. The lot size has certain building setbacks and different things that you have to follow. And then once you design a plan within that, then you start tweaking it because you don't like certain rooms of a certain size or certain things about the layout. You have to make decisions about where you want each room and the size of each one, and the closets and the bathrooms, and where you want the toilet positioned in relation to the tub and the shower, and the stairs, the shape of the stairs, all these elements that you have to think about in designing the plan. So it just took a lot of time. And then along the way, there's just little questions that come up that you then have to figure out before you can move on. And so, for example, we wanted to add a pergola over the back patio on the ground level in the backyard. And so, okay, well, what does that involve, right? What kind of lights can we put in the pergola? Because the floor plan is not just the layout, but also we went through the electrical, the cabinet details, the built-in shelving details, the roof, all these other little details that you need to figure out. And so can you imagine having to figure out also, where are you going to have your light switches in the room? Right? Which direction are you going to be coming from when you're entering your family room, for example, and passing through the house? Which lights do you want to have on which switch, and in what order from left to right? And then if you've got recessed lights, ceiling fan light, hanging light fixture, you've got to have light switches for either a group of those lights or each individual light. So like what's too much, what's too little, finding the right balance, and then just adding into the mix the design element, right? So, aesthetically, do you want upper cabinets only, or do you want an extra stack of cabinets that go all the way to the ceiling in your kitchen? What kind of look are you going for, right? How large of an island are we talking about? Do you want cabinets on both sides of the island or just one side? So, you get my drift. There's so many details that we had to work out. And then along the way, when we had certain questions, we had to consult various vendors of the builder, and also our own interior designer that we've hired for this project, which that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be going through a lot of those things in future videos as well. So The process really is going to take about the next year. The first couple of months, we've actually finalized the floor plan at this point, and we're sending it off to the builder so that he can have the drafter redraw, and then we can check the final version to make sure everything is correct and nothing was missed. Then he can send off for engineering plans, and then ultimately HOA approval and city permit. And of course, in the midst of all that, we have to read over all the specs, the entire contract, get that signed, negotiate price and everything, and then, apply for the construction loan. Of course, if you can pay cash, then you don't need a loan, but, we want to get a loan. And so that's another process that's pretty involved as well. And then finally, when you get, the loan approved, you get the permit from the city, you get approval from the HOA, all of that can take a few months. We're talking about 2-3 months, especially the city permit. That's what really is the big holdup. And so then we can proceed to break ground. And the construction process, barring any crazy series of natural disasters, can take about 9 months, give or take. And of course, if there's any supply issues, as we know during this COVID-19 pandemic, things can get slowed down. So you can just kind of see where this is going. But I'm going to take you on this journey over the next year. We're going to have lots of videos about this. And this is really going to be my focus for my later 2021 and most of 2022 videos. So you'll see the plans and you'll see things start taking shape. We'll go to the house during each stage, when the foundation is laid, framing, stucco, all these, different steps. And then as things are installed inside the home. Okay. All right. So let's get to some visuals. I'm going to share screen and pull up here what we're going to look at. So I have redacted some information that I didn't want to show, like our address and builder's information, things like that. So you can see this is the plot plan. So very exciting. This shows you how the house is going to sit on the lot. And you can see the restrictions that we're up against, right? There's certain building lines that are drawn for you. Like here's a 5-foot building line right here. We've got, a 3-foot building line over here for the, if there's a detached garage, ours is attached. There's a 25-foot building line at the front and the back of the home. So right here. And then also, where did it go back here? Oh, right here, it's getting hidden by all my little blackouts. And then there's different easements. So the aerial easement, that means the utility company's got power lines that they need to be able to access. And obviously you wouldn't want to build anything so close to the power lines anyway, but then there's a 5-foot utility easement for anything that could be underground. And so again, you don't want to build anything on top of that because it could be destroyed if the utility company comes in and needs to dig underground to do any work. And so that can affect if you were to place a pool and things like that. So let me tell you how we got started on this, things that you need to consider when you are looking at first the big picture items. So we always start big and then we kind of go in to the finer details. So the big picture is like, what's the shape of my house? How big is it going to be? How big do we need it to be? How many stories? And then all within the restrictions, as you can see on this plot plan. So we basically max out, we drew all the way up to the building lines all around this house. Now, a house that is as close to a square is as possible is going to be the least expensive to build because you're just building something that's stacked, whether it's 1 or 2 stories. Anytime you start to do little different angles and, or a courtyard or something where you're going to have extra facade materials like extra brick, extra stucco, whatever your materials are made out of on the outside of your home, and then extra windows, that's going to start adding up the cost. Okay. And then if there's interesting roof lines, different levels, again, all these deviations from just your basic square box are going to add to the cost. All right. So here we are sort of a square box, but there's a little bit of more interest that we're adding to it to deviate just a little bit here and there. So as you can see, this is going to be the front yard. So I'm going to zoom in now so that way we can look at things in more detail now that we've established kind of the bigger plot plan. And so this out here is going to be the street. So you're looking at the front of the home. We decided to do a T-shaped driveway because we only have a 2-car garage. That's really the only thing that could fit in here. If you did a 3rd car, your house would look just horrible because the garage would just take over like, pretty much, half or more than half of the width of the home. And then all you'd have left is this little area on the left there for house. And it would just look so bad. So we couldn't do that. Didn't want to do a tandem. that also could potentially cause problems of the garage coming all the way up to the front. Then you just have a really flat front elevation, not as interesting as having the garage set back a little bit, or you would cut into the backyard more. And so, and actually you couldn't even go past the building line. And so that starts to really pose some issues. We didn't even explore that because we didn't find a tandem to be very practical. You know, you got 3 cars parked in the garage, which is essentially how many we have now. We don't plan to have any more than that. Then one person is going to be blocked in, right? And then that car on the outside has to back out for the inner car to come out. So very inconvenient. So we thought, you know what, we're going to park 2 cars in the garage. We're going to install a car lift in case of flooding. If floodwaters start to come up the driveway and, you know, threaten our cars in the garage, then we can lift the cars up off the ground. Great, right? Because Houston is just horrible about flooding. And then in the front here, we decided to do a T-shaped driveway. Now, this is done with some frequency in River Oaks, which is the most high-end neighborhood in Houston. But a lot of theirs I noticed were slanted. I really like the more modern look of a T, so more perpendicular to the main driveway and then parallel to the street. So that's what we have drawn here. Then you've got the walkway leading up to the steps that lead up to the front door. This home is in a floodplain. And so because of that, we have to elevate the house. The first floor of the house is actually about 7 feet above the dirt, above the ground level. And this is going by the elevation certificate and the minimum heights that are required, that you're required to build to comply with the city's rules. And then the stairs cannot hang more than 5 feet over this 25-foot building line, if you can follow where my mouse arrow is. And so you're restricted as well, meaning you've got to make sure these stairs don't go past here. So those stairs will push in, meaning your front door, it can't just be flat against the front of your house. If you want your house to come all the way to the building line, you have to have the front door inset a little bit, which actually provides some good visual interest. So from a design perspective, it's a good thing. And so anyway, the other consideration that you might have is how much concrete can you have? Because adding this extra T-shaped driveway means you have more impermeable material on the ground. And some cities have rules against that because of flooding, right? So the more impermeable structures you put, like concrete, then the water cannot get absorbed into the ground. It then flows out into the streets and into other people's yards and then starts to cause flooding. And so you have to make sure you follow the rules with that. This is a porte-cochere right here, which is basically a little cover, a covered, section right outside the garage doors. So if you pulled up and just like stopped right there, potentially you could get out of the car and not get wet if you're in the driver's side and you just want to like walk into the garage, like if you had to park an extra car out here, for example. But otherwise, it's just a nice little design element. It just looks good. We have an extra long garage and it's also wider than the standard garage because we wanted to make sure that we didn't feel like it was a really tight fit. Our current home is kind of your standard 2-car garage. And so it's pretty tight. Like when you open doors, you got to make sure you don't hit the other car. And so it's just not ideal. So now that we have a chance to make it bigger, we did that. Here you've got steps from the garage going up to the house, the first floor. This is the entry into our mudroom, okay? And then from the front door, of course, you'll be able to go in. This is actually a double door, but they're showing the right side as being closed because our intention is to primarily use the left door to open and close. And then the total square footage as it stands right now, barring any little minor modifications, is just under 4,500 square feet. So it is a large home, but it's not enormous or outrageous. Okay. And then on here, the left here, you've got the AC units. Now those AC units are going to be elevated as well up on a stand so that they don't flood, unless we have some Noah's Ark type flood. Hopefully not, dear God. And so we've also placed these AC units not right outside a window. You can see these little things are windows. This is actually the dining room up here. Okay. And then this is the kitchen. If the AC units are right outside a window, you tend to kind of hear the noise. It's a little bit of an eyesore. And because they're down, a little bit lower, although really they are, because they're raised up, comparable to the first floor's elevation, when you're looking out the window, you can look down and see them. So it's better to just keep them hidden next to a solid wall. and not as close to a window, just as far away from a window as possible. And then you've got all this living space on the first floor. This plot plan doesn't show the rooms all divided, and I'll go into that when we look at the floor plan. But here you've got a back door from the breakfast to go and access the back patio. This is a covered back patio here. And basically we wanted to have two doors. It's pretty customary to do that. This door makes it very easy to go in and out if you're carrying things that you want to take out to grill on the grill right out here, the built-in grill, and also, the sink to wash and prep for your outdoor barbecue. Then it's easier to have a door like this where you can just quickly open and go in and out. The sliding glass doors are a little more challenging, right? You guys are a little bit more involved. You got to muscle and use more strength to push those sliding glass doors off to the side. And so that you're probably not going to be using as you're carrying food and equipment in and out. That's more of just like, okay, if the guests want to come in and out, or we want to leave those doors open and let them kind of enjoy a seamless, indoor outdoor living experience and figure out how to control the mosquitoes and other insects from flying in, then we can achieve that. Okay. Then of course, because remember this first floor is all elevated, how do we get down to the backyard? We've got to have a staircase. And we decided to actually add an extra paved patio that the builder had not originally drawn when we came about, with our first draft, because our back patio up here that's covered is really going to fit our current couple of chairs, a little side table, an ottoman. That's about it. And, people can kind of stand around and mingle and, cook and wash stuff in the sink. And then out here, you can kind of stand against the railing and look out to the backyard. There's not really so much of a view, like we're not lakefront or anything. So it's really just surrounding homes. But of course, if people are playing down here, kids are running around, it's just nice, to be able to stand up here and be able to look down at all of that. But we wanted more space for our current table and chairs for outdoor dining. So down at the bottom of the stairs is going to be a big paved patio. The measurements aren't on here, but we'll look at it in more detail in a future video. But this will have a pergola over it, so that way we get some shade from the sun, and if it's raining. And we really would like for this to be a space that we use in the evening as well. So again, we got to get those mosquitoes under control, cockroaches and all that stuff, because we want it to be lit very magically and just have a really nice ambiance outside for that outdoor dining and just spending time, just hanging out, playing a game, whatever, when the weather is nice, which is a few months out of the year in Houston. So anyway, that is that. Let's move on to the next page that I have to show you, which is, the front elevation. Okay. I'm going to show you what inspired this. I probably should have shown that to you before revealing the front elevation, but I forgot. Anyway, I'm also very sleep deprived. I only got about 4-ish hours of sleep last night. So if my eyes look a little bit, glazed, that is why. Okay. So this is my Pinterest page. You can look me up. Julie Tam is my name. It's at the Julie Tam. And I've got these different boards of different rooms and my home design pictures that I've put in there that are inspiring me and my husband. So luckily my husband and I have very similar tastes when it comes to home design. And so it makes the process really easy. And then on certain things, if I don't feel really passionate about some item, then, and if he feels really passionate about it, then I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. Then we can just go with that. And so it just makes it really easy. I don't know why this thing is not showing. Come on now. Okay, it's reloading here. All right, so some inspo that I wanted to point out and show you. So right here is the pergola that's inspiring us. Stop asking me to log in, come on. Okay, I just love it, right? So I think the pergola is going to look like this, but we haven't decided that completely yet. But just something where it's, a little modern, not super high tech, but it does the job, and it just feels so good. So I really went by the fact that, like, if it feels good for me to look at it and my husband likes it too, then let's go with it. All right, but we're looking at exterior elevation. And this house really caught my eye. So happens to be in the same state that I live in, which is Texas. It's up in Dallas. I don't know why there are so many, it's a foreign language, but anyway, the original site that this came off of didn't look like this, but whatever, suddenly it just totally morphed. But we like this house because it looks modern, but it's not ultra contemporary. So you've got the white stucco, which we like. Our current house is white stucco. This has a metal roof, which is actually very expensive. We're doing the regular composition, which is the traditional shingles that you normally see these days, if it's not metal or tile or something else. We explored the Tesla solar roof, but unfortunately, it doesn't make sense for us. It's going to be too costly. But here, you know, it's just a nice color palette. And then the shape of the house, just when we just look at it and it just feels good, you like it, you just know, right? And so we liked this, oh gosh, I can't even hover my mouse. We liked, if I would just log in, I guess I should have just logged in, but whatever, here we go. We liked if you can see that kind of rectangular arch over the front door, which is essentially a stone pediment. It's a front door surround. And so it just really sets off the front door. It's a nice look. We like the triangular pointed peaks. When you start looking at photos of homes or homes in person, try to find patterns that you see, right? Like, I'm tending to like homes that have this roof shape, or I like homes where I can see more of the roof. Because like those triangle peaks right there, you don't see the roof on top of those peaks, but you see the roofs behind it and on the sides, because those are sloped in such a way where you can see the roof. And then we like the windows. We like the black, whether it be aluminum, whatever material it is, it's just that really nice contrast with the black and white, and it's a strong look, very bold. And then of course the walkway leading up is very nice as well. And they also have a T-shaped driveway. And we like the look of this T-shaped driveway. We're not sure if we're going to do the exact pattern or whatnot, but it is nice. It looks like they have some little pebbles there, like kind of like gravel. And yeah, just real modern. And you've got the nice landscaping really surrounding it. And now you can even see a closer view of the front door surround. This is actually a different house, but up close, it almost looks like it could pass for the other house. We're not sure if we're gonna have an arch doorway yet or a rectangular one, but again, just really liking the look, like the gas lamps, that really gonna give that warm vibe on the outside. The previous inspo photo that we were looking at there had a rectangular shape from the outside. So anyway, you can find me on Pinterest and browse and just see what's inspiring me. I kind of combine all the different room design photos into this board called Home Design. But if you look at my main page, you'll actually see an individual board for each room. So study, family room, backyard, a kitchen, master bedroom, mud room, exterior, master bath, which now we're supposed to call it primary or owner's bath, but I created these before that whole change. But anyway, stairs, finishes, powder room, dining room, master closet. And then I have some old Pinterest boards. But these pictures in here, it's not like I like every thing in each picture. Some pictures I may just like a certain element. And in fact, the stairs, there's a lot of stairs I don't like, but because of the shape of the stairs that we were forced to have for our home, we had to actually, get some pictures of stairs that were constructed in this way, in terms of the shape, the way it lands on the second floor, the way it lands on the first floor, even if we don't like the railing or the color or whatever, or the flooring, but just the way that it is landing on each floor is what we were looking at to help us figure out what our stairs would look like. Okay, and we'll get into the stairs, and my husband did some pretty cool sketches by hand. All right, so you'll see some red text here because this is actually our markups for this latest plan that finalizes our floor plan. And my husband's the one who does all the red markups because he's good at that kind of thing and can really do a better job than I can. And he's also even better at 3D visualization and trying to visualize in his mind what something's gonna look like from what we put down on paper, or how do we draw what we want. So I'm just really glad that I've had him as my partner in this. So this is the front elevation of the house, okay? We can see where it says composition shingles is where you can see the roof. So instead of having just two triangle peaks where you can't see the roof, this middle peak, we cannot see it really. But this one, we wanted the roof to, the shingles to come down the front so that we could see it, because seeing more roof actually looks better. And because the house is so high up, when you're on the street level, you're looking up, the roof is so high, you really can't see it very well unless you bring some of it down a bit for the person to see. And then you can see the staircase here really wanted the steps to kind of fan out slightly gracefully, having the railing kind of come out. We didn't want a harsh, slant, and we also did not want straight. Thought that was just going to be too boring. This gives it an elegant, softened look against the more modern stucco. And then we have the stone pediment here. I don't know that this will be the shape of our front door. Certainly it's not going to look like this. We want to either have some iron work on glass or complete iron or something. We haven't figured that out yet, but this is sort of a placeholder. And then of course the shape of the door, right? Like, is it going to be softly arched like this? Is it going to be very rounded arch? Is it going to be squared off? I think we like this shape because it's not super round. And just, I guess that's a more traditional, like an older type of look. And then the completely rectangular just makes it more harsh. When all the windows are already rectangular, we don't have any arched windows or any transoms. We kind of wanted to soften it a little bit by just giving it a little bit of a curve on top. And then the windows are largely symmetrical. You will notice, for example, this window is just slightly narrower than this one over here because of certain measurements that we needed to achieve. And this is what was possible. But really, if someone's like just looking at the house, it looks symmetrical. They're not going to go, oh, let me take a ruler or a measuring tape and see that the window is slightly different from the other one. It's not going to happen. And then we have a little window up here because without something here, it just felt like there was too much blank stucco. This area in the middle is actually inset back a little bit, again, to just give it a little bit more depth and visual interest. Because this is just a two-dimensional drawing, it's not 3D, you can't really tell what's set back and what's not. So I'm pointing that out. Over here, we have a metal roof overhang above the porte-cochere that's above the garage door. That, again, people tend to statistically like seeing a little bit of roof on a lower level, not just at the top of the house and then no roof again. So that creates more visual interest. We liked it. We're considering what we like, but also what's good for resale, because eventually, we probably will sell the house whenever we move to our next property, whenever that will be. Okay, and then, so this roof is actually, jutting out a bit. I should do this so you can actually see the depth on this video. And as we scroll down, you can see this is the right elevation. So this means you're standing in the street looking at the front of the house, and this is the right side. So you can see the staircase for the front, the staircase for the back, and we marked off some things that we wanted to change. Originally, we thought we'd put brick here, but then we're like, it's too complicated and maybe we don't really need that look and it costs more, so forget it. And then for some reason, the drafter put this phantom floating window at the front of the house, so we had to get rid of that. Down here is the rear elevation. So this is the back of the home. So if you're standing in the backyard looking, you can see the stairs and the way they go up and the different windows. We shortened this window a bit so you can see the red there, and I'll go into that in more detail, but it's for the mud room. We needed the window to be a little bit shorter above the bench so that we're not putting our backs up against glass when we sit down to put our shoes on or take them off. And finally, the last elevation is the left side. So again, seeing the front of the house now over here, the back of the house here, and all the windows that are on this side of the house, and making sure they correspond with the windows on the floor plan, which we'll look at in a future video. Okay, so next I want to show you some cool 3D renderings that my husband, who just like late at night decided to figure out a 3D rendering program on his own. So we'll look at this one first. It's very basic, very primitive, but gives you an idea of what the house would look like from the front. So you can see the depth here, that this is set back a little bit, the stone pediment that comes out. This version that he drew, you don't see like the front door shape exactly. And then you see the stairs. Again, it's not really accurate or exact, but it just gives us an idea visually so that we can kind of see, what it might look like and do we like it. He didn't bother putting all the windows on the side. That's really not necessary. We just mainly wanted to see what the front of the house looks like because that is what we're going to see the most often and the most visible. And then he really liked this other 3D elevation that he drew. He actually drew several, but these are kind of the key ones. This is what the house looks like as you're approaching it from the front and looking up, like from the front steps. And so he just really liked that. So I wanted to share that. Okay, so let's see. Let me make sure I went over everything. I did. Okay. Oh, no. I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. Boom. This was an early floor plan sketch that my husband did on a notebook paper of our floor plan. So it is a bit different now than this picture, but the overall kind of layout of where things are in general, you can sort of see it here and how it took shape. The stairs were the most difficult thing to tackle. But yeah, so husband, very talented, just, kind of put this together. And then the second floor, same thing. So yeah, you can see all these little door symbols, even included some of the AC duct work from another plan, that we saw from the builder, and some of the windows, just so that we could kind of see where everything was. So yes, this is a sneak peek, and then I will take you through a more detailed version, the actual official builder's floor plan, in a future video. So I'm going to stop my screen share so that I can give you some final little tidbits here. Where did my button go? Here. Please continue to watch on Facebook and YouTube. I really appreciate all of the viewers out there. And I hope that if you found this video enjoyable or helpful, that you will like and also subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye now. Thanks for watching.